All right, well, welcome everybody to Introduction to the Home Innovation National Standard Green Certified. I today will be your host. My name is Brett Little, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Green Home Institute. This course is brought to you by the Green Home Institute. We are a 501c3 nonprofit celebrating our 15th year this year, and we exist to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. We want to thank some of our major sponsors who allow us to be able to do these sessions, Andersen Windows, CertainTeed through St. Gobain, and Panasonic North America. Make sure to check them out. Also, you can help support these events and more through free education by checking out our Get Involved page and learning a little more about supporting the residential green building industry there. We are an education partner. This course is approved for one GBCI, AIH, HSW, NARI Green, National Green Building Standard, AIBD, and may be approved for your state-based design or construction contractor license. Check with your state there. All right, with that, I am going to introduce Cindy, who is the manager of Green Building Programs at the Home Innovations Lab. Cindy manages all the day-to-day aspects of Home Innovations National Green Building Standard Green Certification Program, including verifier training, communication, Home Builder Association partner relations, and the National Green Building Standard Certified Product Catalog. Her background in green government initiatives with NACO provide her a wealth of resources and experience to guide her work at the Home Innovations Lab. So thank you, Cindy, and please take it away.
Great. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for the opportunity to meet with all of these folks today. I really appreciate it. Here's what I plan to cover in my presentation today. I want to give you a broad overview of the National Green Building Standard, or NGBS, talk about its scope, its certification requirements and process, and also identify some incentive programs and other places where the NGBS is recognized. So the National Green Building Standard is the first and only residential green rating system to be approved by ANSI, the American National Institute of Standards. And what that means is that the rating system was developed with a broad, open consensus process with diverse stakeholders. So individuals that contributed to its development include builders, remodelers, product manufacturers, federal government representatives, local code officials, and others. In the first iteration of the NGBS, there were representatives from both USGBC and GBI. As an ANSI standard, the NGBS is updated on a regular update cycle. Right now it's currently being updated every 3 years. So the first iteration was introduced in 2009, the next version was introduced in 2013, and the development for the 2015 version is currently in process. The NGBS has 4 certification tiers: bronze, silver, gold, and emerald. And just like other green certification programs that you're familiar with, the NGBS is designed to provide a rating of the project's environmental impact. The NGBS is designed to be a voluntary above-code program, although we have seen a few jurisdictions that have adopted it as part of their local building code. So folks often ask for how the NGBS compares to other rating systems available on the market. And I don't think a point-by-point comparison is really effective to describe the program, because I think there are some broad brush differences. First, the NGBS was written in code language, not so that it would be adopted by code, but so that anyone picking up the book could really clearly understand easily what the requirements were asking for. Energy efficiency is set as a baseline above code. So in the current version, it's 15% above the 2009 IECC. There are a few mandatory provisions in the standard, but otherwise it's a expansive, flexible, point-based rating system, there are 1,100 practices to choose from. So project managers can really hone in and pick and choose and figure out what works best for their budget or their consumer or their local jurisdiction code requirements. Something that sets the NGBS apart from other programs is that there are increasing requirements in each and every category to achieve higher levels of certification. I'm going to go into that in more detail in just a minute. There's an equal focus on both design and construction, so it's less of a design standard in addition to all the planning documents or plans that a verifier will need to verify the home. There's also a visual inspection required as well. And the NGBS is backed up with a very rigorous verification protocol, which I'll talk about more in just a minute. So a little bit about my organization. Home Innovation Research Labs is a 50-year-old company that has been solely focused on reducing barriers to entry in the home building industry. We were formed as a small product test lab back in the 60s, but we've evolved to be a full-service consulting firm, product test lab, and accredited third-party certification agency. And we launched the NGBS Green Certification Program about 6 years ago. And I think one of the benefits that distinguishes us from other programs is that we bring that that focus and that third-party accredited methodology to the green certification program. Scattered throughout my slides today, I have a few examples to show the diversity of projects that are being certified to the NGBS. The NGBS covers all residential, including single-family homes, multifamily buildings, land developments, and renovations. And so I just wanted to showcase the diversity of projects that can be certified. I think there's still a misperception in the market that the NGBS only applies to single-family homes. And actually, the majority of our certification activity is multifamily. So this is a project from Manhattan. This is the 1023 building by Equity Residential. It's a fairly large multifamily building and our first certified in the borough of Manhattan. There are various reasons why people would seek a green certification for a multifamily project. We often hear from developer clients that it's something that the investors are looking for, not for any particular green certification program, but that a national green certification is achieved for the project. We also see that a number of companies have made a commitment to green as part of their corporate sustainability commitment, and green certification is one way to demonstrate that. We've also seen that green certifications can streamline the entitlement process, development review, and provide a more favorable public perception of the project going forward. For single-family homes, we often hear through market research that consumers are looking for green features, or at least the benefits of green features. They're looking for healthier, more comfortable, and more efficient places to live. And consumers value independent third-party certification as a way to cut through and figure out what's greenwashing and what's not. So for single-family builders, the third-party green certification really helps them market their homes. And we have another number of benefits that can help them reach their audiences, like our Find Your Green Home tool and our Green Gallery on our website. So these are just some stats from a recent satisfaction survey of NGBS green certified homeowners. When surveyed, owners of green homes said that they were actively looking for a green home when they made their purchase. A large percentage understood what a green home meant, and they were aware and valued that their home was NGBS green certified. I mentioned before that Green certification can help projects streamline through the entitlement process and funding. So this is a project in Charlotte that has a mix of both affordable and market rate units, and they're receiving funding through HUD. And each and every time that they had to submit documents to HUD for review, they were moved to the top of the pile because the building was seeking a green certification. So if you're familiar with other green programs, these categories in green won't be any surprise to you. The NGBS is a comprehensive green building certification, so it includes sections on lot design, energy efficiency, water efficiency, resource efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and operations and maintenance. And then in blue are the benefits that we talk about in our marketing materials: health, comfort, durability, and efficiency. I said before that the NGBS covers single-family homes, so there's no limit on size or height, and we've certified single-family homes in nearly every state in the country. For multifamily buildings, it's fairly straightforward. There isn't a separate certification path for buildings 4 stories or below and high-rise, mid-rise. There's no breakouts like that. They're all following the same certification path. There's no limit on height or number of units or density, and we've also expanded the scope of multifamily to include military housing, student housing, publicly funded and owned affordable housing, senior living, et cetera. As long as there's a residential component, we should be able to certify that. And actually, the NGBS is the preferred green program for Balfour Beatty, a private military housing developer. So this is some photos from their base down in Texas, where all the homes that were built achieved emerald level for NGBS. So when I'm introducing the program, I often talk about how the NGBS is the most rigorous, flexible, and cost-effective program on the market. And you might think that flexibility and rigor might be contradictory terms. I think this chart really helps to explain that. So as I said before, to move up from one certification level to another, the project must be higher performing in each and every category. So if the project achieves the silver level in every chapter except energy efficiency, where they only meet bronze, the home can only be certified at bronze. At the same time, there's a lot of flexibility built in with this requirement of additional points from any category. So that also increases as you go from one certification level to another. And basically that allows the builder to kind of hone in and achieve points that might be better aligned with regional priorities or something that they want to provide special to their client base. So in the Northeast, we see a lot of those additional points being selected from the energy efficiency section because energy is much more costly in that area. But in the Southwest, clients might be taking those additional points from the water efficiency section, for example, because that's a higher demand. And then this is showing the increasing rigor in a different way. So this is just looking at energy performance. And you'll see that to go from bronze to silver to gold to emerald in NGBS, there's increasing requirements for energy performance. So for any project to be certified, 15% above the 2009 IECC is the requirement. To achieve silver, it's 30% above the baseline, gold is 40%, and emerald is 50%. By comparison, I'm also displaying information about LEED for Homes 2008. That program does not have the increasing requirements for certification level, so any project that's LEED certified can be certified with just 15% above the 2006 IECC. So it could be platinum, LEED, and that is still the baseline requirement. Does anyone have any questions about the points before I move on? I think sometimes the point requirements can be a little bit tricky. So if you have a question, just type it in the box and I'll address it before we move on.
And this is Brett here, and it's, when you're looking at the tool itself and you're going through these selections, it makes it pretty clear what points you have and where your shortfall is, correct? I mean, that's not something that the user has to do. It makes that pretty intuitive for them, right?
Absolutely. So we have a Excel-based scoring spreadsheet that people will work through when they're seeking certification, and that has a lot of logic built in. You can really clearly see what certification level the home has achieved and where the points are still needed to get to where they're seeking to achieve. It might flag red or green based on the points that are achieved.
Would you mind if I just pasted a link to share where people
Sure.
can get those tools?
Yep, that'd be great.
Great, thanks.
So moving on, there's also a certification path in the NGBS for land development. When the consensus committee was developing the requirements for land development, they really wanted the certification to be achievable by any density threshold. So because there was this belief that any development, whether it's rural or suburban or urban, could have environmentally beneficial features and development methods. And there's no limit on density, and there's also no limit on community size. We've certified small 5-lot suburbs up in New England, and we also have a few 2,000-acre, 20,000 residential unit mixed-use communities seeking certification as well. It's really flexible. So for land development, I think green certification can help streamline the permitting process, and it also can get the project some good notoriety and recognition with their local government. So the project shown on the screen, this is the Haven, and it's in Severn Park, Maryland, which is just on the Chesapeake Bay. And because this community has developed has integrated a lot of stormwater protection features throughout the community, they got a lot of positive recognition with the local government. So the NGBS also has 2 pathways for remodel projects to be certified. So the whole home or whole building renovation pathway is largely based on energy and water reductions, doing a before and after analysis. And then additional points are required from the other sections of lot design, resource efficiency, IEQ, and operation. This is available for both single-family homes and multifamily buildings. And what's great is because it's largely based on energy and water reductions, it's not prescriptive. It's not saying you have to change out the windows or you have to change out the HVAC equipment. And so it's really useful for folks that are doing historical renovations where they can't make those changes to the windows, for example. And I think it's also pretty flexible, so it can be used for both moderate renovations as well as larger renovation projects like adaptive reuse. This is a chart that shows the requirements for renovation. So for any project to be certified, it must achieve at least 15% reduction in energy consumption, 20% reduction in water consumption, and a minimum of 88 points in the other sections. There's also a pathway for small projects to be certified. Unlike the certification for renovations of whole homes and new construction, there's only one certification level for small projects. And because it's one certification level, it's more prescriptive in nature, so all applicable practices are mandatory. So a small project is a kitchen, a bathroom, a basement, or a small addition that's being renovated. To date, we haven't had a lot of activity in this area, and a lot of the small projects that have been certified have been a small remodel project of a single-family home. Although I can see the option for a multifamily project manager to go through and update all the kitchens within an older building to make them have a little bit of a facelift, and that might be something where they can provide a value add to the renters coming in. Sorry, I didn't realize my slides were so out of order. So this is additional information about the land development certification. I said before, it applies to a wide variety of communities. There are practices related to site selection, site design, and site development and construction. And the practices are written so it's more about the environmental benefit. It's not a design standard. And all green practices must be visually inspected on site. There are two pathways, so you can do one or the other or both. Some folks find value in having a letter of approval that can help get the project through the permitting process and gain the favorability of their local community. There's also an option to seek full certification when all the development activities are complete on the land. The land development certification is separate than the certification of a home or building. However, if a developer pledges to certify the homes within a community, they get some additional points. And vice versa, if a home is seeking certification and it is built within a certified community, they get some additional points in Chapter 5, which is lot development. These are our current certification fees for land development. I will say that we are currently considering price increases across the board, and so these fees might be changing soon, although anything that is registered in the near future would be grandfathered in at these rates. So I had a picture of a smaller community that was green certified. This is the Daybreak community in Salt Lake City. This is a 2,000-acre planned community, a mix of multifamily, mixed use, and single-family homes. There's a city center that's near light rail, and there's some really remarkable stormwater protection features throughout the community. This project tried to get LEED ND, but they couldn't achieve the required density, and the NGBS was a better fit for their project. So now I'm going to talk about the process. So the consensus committee that developed the NGBS defined what a green home is. As adopting entity, Home Innovation can't make any changes to that, but we can interpret and provide certification. We require that all projects be 100% verified on-site to ensure compliance. And the certification mark is a nationally recognized mark that provides some consistency in the market about what a green home or building is. So in more detail, first, the architect, verifier, or builder will score the building using the scoring spreadsheet that I talked about a little bit earlier with Brett. This is an Excel-based workbook, and it's fairly user-friendly. Once the project is scored, it's provided to the verifier who's going to perform the inspections on the site. The verifier is going to actually work in the exact same file. The verifier is the one who registers the building, so a project can't get started with certification until the verifier is contracted. There is no registration fee. It's just we need some information to get the project into our system. Once registered, all projects appear on our website as in process, and it's a consumer-facing page. So our hope is that someone looking for a green apartment or a green home will be Googling and land on our page and be connected with builders and developers that are participating in the program. The construction process gets started, and there are required inspections pre-drywall and then again at final. And for multifamily projects, all units must be visually inspected. So sampling is not allowed, and the verifier must visit all sites, all units. So for multifamily projects, the verifier would be making regular trips to make sure that all units are visited and inspected. And then once the inspections are complete, the verifier will review any additional documentation that he or she may need to verify the practices, and then they'll turn in the scoring spreadsheet to our team. And we make every effort to turn around final certification within 1 business day of receiving that verification report. We heard early on when we were getting started with the program that sometimes architects were being delayed payment for 8-9 months because their fee was attached to the LEED certification. And we know that you know, we didn't want anyone to wait on the certification, so we tried as much as possible to reduce, you know, processing issues and really streamline and get people what they need fast. So I said before, the registration process is free but mandatory. It just more or less establishes what version of the standard, whether it's the 2008 or now the 2012, will be used for compliance. It gets homes and buildings in our system quicker so we can market them early. And then it also streamlines the process for verifiers. So they're not getting a call right before drywall is going to go up that a project needs a green certification. The distinction here is that only the verifiers can register the project. This is a screenshot of the NGBS green scoring spreadsheet. You can download a current version at homeinnovation.com/green scoring. And I encourage you to play around with it after today's program. So you might just practice scoring a project that you might currently be working on or have completed in the past. There are tabs at the bottom for each of the chapters of the NGBS. And then here's the page where you'll see what point shortfalls, if any, are in each of the sections and what certification level it achieves. And then there's a separate tab just for the verifiers to use when they're visiting the site for their verification. So all the things that you're claiming points for in these sections when you're designing the project are automatically transferred to the verification report, so it's really easy. The verifier knows what he or she is looking for when they're coming to do the inspection. So some information about our verifiers. There's a nationwide network of about 350 verifiers across the country. They exist in pretty much every major metropolitan area. And I know that there are many in the Midwest, and I can, you can take a look at homeinnovation.com/find NGBS verifier. And on that page, you're going to search by state. So either put in Michigan if you're in Michigan, or another state if you're building a project in another area. While there are verifiers in every major market, there are a smaller group that has specialized in multifamily buildings. And we found out that the market for multifamily verifiers is a little bit different. It's not uncommon for a verifier that's located in North Carolina to also have multifamily projects that they're inspecting in Texas and Alabama and Florida because they have a relationship with a developer that works in multiple service markets. There isn't a separate accreditation for multifamily verifiers versus single family. It's just one accreditation, but some of those verifiers have specialized and honed in on a type of project that they more typically verify. So the verifiers are all independent, so they set their own rates. And many of them also provide other services like trades training, consulting, energy rating, energy modeling, design services. So it's really hard for me to offer an average rate or a typical price point. I will say that If you're going to get started with the project, I encourage you to reach out to at least 2 or 3 verifiers who work in your area and just kind of figure out who you feel most comfortable working with. And also let them know all the projects that you have on your upcoming horizon. And if they know all the work that you could be providing them, they're going to provide the best rate available. So Home Innovation Research Labs, we qualify, train, test, and accredit all the verifiers that we work with. We ask professionals to come to us with existing experience in both residential construction and green building, and we look for that very carefully. If an individual comes to us and they meet our qualifications, they are entered into our training and testing space where they have to go through a number of online modules and then pass a fairly rigorous online exam. The exam covers their understanding of the NGBS practices as well as scenarios like how they would handle something in the field and the certification process. We require all accredited verifiers to have sufficient insurance, so they're not putting anyone at risk when they're coming on site. And we have a number of activities that we do to ensure that the verifiers maintain a level of quality when they're doing their inspections. So we review 100% of the inspection reports that come in, and we actually grade the verifiers on each and every report that we review. Based on the assessment of the verifiers, we do desktop audits of our verifiers and also site visits where we're going to a site before or immediately after a inspection has occurred to just double check the work and see if what we see when we visit the site compares to what's coming in on the verification report. So this is another example of a home that's been certified. This is from Pat Patterson's Island Homes in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. So this is a community where they're right on the shore, and green certification really fits in with the local values because they're really close to the environment and interacting on a daily basis. So let's talk about compliance costs a little bit. People often ask, what does it cost to certify a green home? And I'm going to speak to all the different components that contribute to the cost of a green certified home or building. So the first tier is the certification fee. We've really worked hard to keep our certification fees low, so they're not a barrier for any project to be certified. So a single family home and the certification fees are either $200 or $500 based on whether or not a member of the design team is an NAHB member, National Association of Home Builders. For multifamily projects, it's the same $200 or $500 per building plus $20 per unit. So it's much more cost effective than some of the other programs that you may be interacting with. The verification costs, I said before that those vary based on market as well as the other services that the verifier is providing. That can vary, but it is a larger cost than the certification fees. And then the next and probably the biggest component to take a building from code compliant to green is the actual sticks and bricks, the actual practices and products that make the home green. And I'm going to speak to that in a little bit. And then the last tier I've whited out to show that we've tried to eliminate the actual pain factor of certification as much as possible. So I said that we try to turn things around for final certification within 1 business day when possible. We also respond to technical assistance questions within 1 business day unless it's something that requires a lot more discussion from our team. We never charge for technical assistance or expedited reviews, and And we've just tried as much as possible to provide superior customer service to make it a good experience for everyone seeking certification. Okay, so talking about the sticks and bricks costs, these numbers are pulled from a recent cost comparison study of the 2012 NGBS to LEED 2008 and LEED version 4. The study found that the NGBS was more cost-effective than LEED 2008 and LEED version 4 at the lower certification levels. So the numbers in the chart show a comparison of NGBS bronze to LEED certified, and it showed that the NGBS was about half the cost of LEED certification. However, the report did show that the cost difference grew smaller at the higher levels because the NGBS is more stringent at the higher certification tiers. So the numbers grow smaller when it's NGBS Emerald compared to LEED Platinum. And I'll take a pause here and see if anyone had any questions about the process or costs. So while you're typing in, I'll mention that these are some examples from a multifamily project. So it's harder to really pinpoint and provide a direct comparison as we saw for single family for multifamily because there's so many different types of multifamily projects, quads, low-rise, garden style, high-rise. But in general, we see that because the compliance costs are spread across more units, it's often easier to achieve certification for a small increased cost. So this is a project from Asheville where the developer saw only a 0.124 increased cost to achieve NGBS certification, and they were achieving the silver level certification, not even the lowest level. So I don't see any questions about process or cost, so I'm going to move on. So the International Green Construction Code is gaining popularity, and we've seen that Dallas and Baltimore have adopted it as their local code. The NGBS is a recognized alternative compliance path as the IGCC for multifamily buildings 4 stories and above. The project, if it's using the alternative compliance path, must achieve the silver level for energy efficiency. And we've heard from developers that the NGBS is a more cost-effective approach and easier to understand than going through and doing compliance to the IGCC. So this is something to be aware of if the IGCC is being considered for your local area. And we've also seen that many communities like Baltimore have opted to accept independent third-party certification to demonstrate compliance. So in Baltimore, a project can demonstrate IGCC compliance, or they can show that they have been NGBS Green certified, and that provides them what they need to build in the city. There are numerous jurisdictions, federal agencies, and local programs that recognize the NGBS. And about 20 states recognize the NGBS as part of their low-income housing tax credit qualified allocation plans. NGBS is well suited for affordable housing development because it's really cost-effective. The NGBS, because it was developed just for residential construction, all the practices and requirements really clearly align with residential construction. There is not a commercial rating system that was adapted for residential application. Because most of you are in the Midwest, I wanted to share this map of where the NGBS is recognized in the qualified allocation plans. So you'll see that a lot of these Midwest states have recognized the NGBS, and I just wanted to point that out to you if you are building affordable housing in those areas. Another way that we help to streamline the process is with our Green Certified Product Program. So Home Innovation essentially pre-approves particular products as meeting components of the NGBS. And so when a green certified product is used, the builder developer doesn't have to provide any additional documentation to demonstrate that that product meets the NGBS practice. They just have to write on the scoring spreadsheet that a green certified product was used, and the verifier doesn't have to verify anything additional. And we've really developed a user-friendly website where you can browse by category or browse by manufacturer or brand name, or you can find by practice. So Brett mentioned at the beginning of the program that he worked with Certainteed and Anderson Windows. Both of those companies have certified products, and so if you're using one of those products from either company, you just have to, mark on the scoring spreadsheet, green product was used, and nothing additional is needed. We've also made this really user-friendly for architects. So we have links to product specs, and we encourage architects or designers to just go into the website, download all the product specs for certified products, so they have them on their hard drive that they can access when they're ready to get started on an NGBS project. So I'm not going to spend too much on marketing, but as I said before, third-party certifications matter to the FTC, and they matter to consumers. And we developed a number of ready-made marketing products for people seeking certification to help them be in line with FTC compliance requirements. So for projects that are seeking certification, they're eligible to use the Green Registered or the Green Partner mark, and once they're certified, the Green Certified mark is available to them. One of the tools that we have made available are the silent salesperson signs, and these are designed to be put out in a model unit or a model home so that the leasing agent or the realtor doesn't have to have a broad understanding of the green building practices in the building. They're really color-coded, and they're really easy to understand, and they're all written to speak to the benefits provided by the green features. So someone who's attending an open house, they can walk through, really understand the green features of the unit without having to have a long conversation with the leasing agent. We also have yard signs and larger construction site banners available for download at our website for folks to use. And to wrap up, I just wanted to announce that we recently celebrated our 50,000th NGBS Green Certified home. We had a little recognition event with Saucy Burbank, which is a local single-family builder in North Carolina. And the 50,000 certified home was actually certified in a community where all homes must be NGBS certified. So that was really exciting for us. And I think the fact that we've certified so many homes and have become the leading certification program for residential construction shows that we've built a program that's really user-friendly, flexible, and cost-effective. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and see if you have any questions for me.
Hey, thanks, Cindy. It looks like there was one specific question, and whether you want to speak to this more directly or more broadly was a question, I believe, on the QAP and where the state of Washington is at. But maybe, yeah, I mean, you could maybe if there's any states that you think that are about to go through, you could talk about those too.
Yeah, so Washington is a little bit of an interesting story where they don't recognize NGBS quite yet for their QAP, but they recently made a change. They rolled out a new program for financing of single-family homes, both new and existing, and the NGBS was recognized as one of the programs for that single-family home program. And so our hope is that because they recognize it for that program, they will extend and recognize NGBS in the QAP in the coming months. In terms of other states that we're working on, I recently had calls with Pennsylvania and Arizona, and we're hoping that they're going to recognize the program in coming years. And Michigan, I know that they're on a 2-year cycle, and we're just starting that conversation, so the NGBS will be recognized alongside LEAD and Enterprise in the next term.
Great. So a lot of times, and I know I've had this issue too, and we've talked about it a little bit, looking at the program, and maybe if people are used to the LEAD program and they see that home size adjuster, or they see the Energy Star version 3 home size adjuster, bedroom to square footage ratios, clearly the National Green Building Standard program doesn't have that, but you all do have some things that do change in the program depending on if you've got smaller or larger homes, correct?
Yeah. So there's one practice in Chapter 6, which is the resource efficiency chapter, that directly deals with home size. So you can get a number, you can get points based on the size of the unit, whether it's 1,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet, et cetera. And then there are actual negative points if a single-family home or a apartment unit is over 4,000 square feet. There's additional points required added to the total points needed for certification based on how many square feet they are beyond that 4,000 square foot threshold. Does that make sense, Brett?
It makes sense to me. We'll see if there's any other follow-up questions. Great. Yep, looks like we're good.
Okay.
So the next question we have is, will there eventually be verification on the materials to hold contractors responsible to use specified products?
So the green certified products, they're optional. It's a tool available for folks to use if they want to use them. And a lot of the certified products are pretty popular already, like DuPont's Tyvek and CertainTeed's insulation. There's no requirement that you have to use products from the list. It's really flexible. You can use it if you want to or not.
Are there extra points for those products if you use them?
Not extra points, but it provides the processing benefit that you don't have to scout out the manufacturer's literature and have your verifier review that.
Okay. So I'd assume you, in the same way, would utilize resources from, I would just say, like the Red List, for example, or Declare from the International Living Future Institute?
I don't know about that resource, but if a manufacturer is seeking product certification, they're going to submit an application to our team, and they're going to provide independent third-party test information that demonstrates that their product meets a particular practice of the NGBS. So, for example, there's one practice that deals with recycled content. And so a manufacturer is going to submit to us third-party documents that show that the product achieves that practice based on the documentation they're going to provide.
Great. Well, I think that hopefully answers that second question that just came through there, too. Great. Well, we still got some more time for some questions. I had a few here that popped up as you all are putting your thoughts there in the box. So I look at residential projects that are high-rise and even ones that are potentially mixed use. And I know some programs are concerned about the percentage of residential space versus commercial space. Does National Green Building Standard have a cutoff on percentage of space in one building?
So the NGBS, our certification of mixed-use buildings is just the residential portions. So it applies to all the residential units as well as any common spaces that are available to residents, like the clubhouse or the pool or the leasing office. The certification does not extend to the commercial operations within the building.
Okay, so you don't even have the verifier look at the commercial space then, correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay. And on that note, with student and dormitory housing, we know sometimes that the components of the home that would normally be within a contained unit, such as the kitchen or the bathroom, are shared among other units and in connected hallways. So do you still certify those types of projects then?
Yeah, as long as there are means for eating and sanitation that every resident can access, so cooking, cleaning, eating, the project can be certified. Projects that we wouldn't necessarily certify would be like a like something that has much more medical equipment, like a retirement community where there's more of a medical service provided to residents, if that makes sense. I didn't explain that very well.
No, that's helpful. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned sampling, and I know that I know components of the National Green Building Standard that can help folks achieve the energy component could include the HERS index rating, the home, that's the home energy rating system, or the Energy Star version 3 rating. And I do know that those do have sampling components to them. So what does National Green Building Standards say if a sampling component on the energy side is activated by the rater?
So we have a verifier resource guide that verifiers use when they're doing their inspections. That specifies that there are only 2 or 3 practices related to energy performance testing and insulation inspection that can be sampled. And if the verifiers don't have to sample, it's at their discretion. If they are to sample those 2 or 3 practices, they have to follow the ResNet protocol. Other practices cannot be sampled. It's only limited to those energy performance insulation inspection practices.
Okay, so things like water flow rates and everything else someone would be inspecting needs to be inspected in every unit.
Yep. One caveat would be in some cases order slips can be reviewed, like for if we know that 500 stovetops are being delivered, we can assume that the verifier can just verify based on that order slip if they're also taking a close look at the units.
Great. Well, I have one more question here, and I just wanted to make sure if anyone had any other thoughts, they got them in last minute. You know, a lot of times our teams and very busy contractors or architects are looking for a very quick scope of work generator for green building programs. So using some kind of tool to sort of generate an easy scope of work that can help different contractors such as HVACs or insulators or solar or what have you know exactly what they need to do, what the requirements are, and how it fits in with the program. Does the checklist based on the scoring selection that a team has made allow that to be easily distributed to the different subcontractor types once it's been generated?
We're currently, yes and no. So right now there are some filtering capabilities that someone can use to break out the practices by trade unit, although it takes a little bit of work to get to that point. We are currently working internally to roll out a more preferred option that would do that breakout more easily.
Great. Well, Cindy, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for everyone who's listening in. And if we want to just quick end by letting everyone know where they can find some more information, and if they have any questions, where they can contact you at.
So I have my contact information displayed on the slide right now. Feel free to reach out by email or phone if you have any questions about the requirements or process after the program. Again, if you want to practice scoring your project to the NGBS, go to homeinnovation.com/green scoring. That's where you can download the scoring spreadsheets. General information about the certification requirements and process and fee schedule are at homeinnovation.com/green.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.